Hey guys, this is Vera91, and now that the series of The Walking Dead is officially done, I figure I'd talk about the 5 mistakes I believe that they made with this series. And let me just say before I start, this is just my opinion on what mistakes I believe that they made basically across the entire series. So let's begin. Playing as Clem in Season 2, I really think that was a mistake. I don't think we should play it as Clem. Even if we played as someone that was over Clem, I just think playing as a child, one, it really didn't make sense that the group would basically be taking orders from a child or advice from a child. I mean, she's 11 years old. It didn't make sense how much pull Clem had. I understand they wanted to give the player, because it wouldn't have been fun to basically have no choice over what happens to the group, but it just didn't make sense, and it took away from the immersion that they would be taking all those advice and whatnot from a child. Also, it kind of just limited what you could do. Like, you couldn't shoot a rifle, obviously, and all that stuff that you couldn't do because she was a child. It just kind of made certain aspects of the game less fun because Clem was a child. And in my opinion, they kind of realized this by A New Frontier, which is why they probably had you play as Javier instead of Clementine. So even they seem to recognize that playing as Clementine Season 2 was a mistake. Number 4, Lily. Now, not the character. I like Lily as a character. She's a really strong character. And even in the final season, though she's in only a few scenes, she kind of dominates the scenes that she's in. Let's just be real. When Lily's in a scene, that's Lily's scene, basically. Okay? You're just there to watch. But I'm more talking about not something that Telltale did here, but that Lily, with the whole Kirkman debacle where he was like, oh no, it's not my character, that seemed to kind of ruin Telltale's future plans. Not because they weren't allowed to use Lily, which I'm not sure if they were or not, but because I don't think they wanted to use Lily in Season 2 or New Frontier, basically because of what happened with that whole debacle. They didn't want to risk using Lily again and having another debacle like they had to, where they had to completely make her, no, she's not Lily Call, she's actually just Lily, and they had to go in and change all that stuff for her and for Larry even. So I really think that caused them not to use Lily, and I think it would have been better if Lily had been used in Season 2 especially, as opposed to just brought back in the final season. And that to me really made the future games worse, because it seems like, I bet they planned to have Lily come back, but it just never went into fruition because of that whole debacle with the whole Kirkman saying, no, that's not my Lily in the game. Number 3, the ability to go back and pick not only which episode you want to play again, but which part of the episode you want to start at. Disappearing in A New Frontier was a big mistake. It was a huge mistake in my opinion, because that really got rid of the whole replay value of the game, because a lot of times I would want to go back and change a decision, but I wouldn't want to go back and change all my decisions. So it wouldn't make sense to make me play through the whole episode to change something that happened in the middle of the episode, and sometimes even at the end of the episode, such as with the final season, episode 3. I wanted to go back and pick kill Lily instead to see what would happen and to basically save James, but I was not about to play through the whole episode 3 again just to make that one decision. It did not make sense in my book. And even with other decisions, it would make more sense to go back to that specific scene and change the decision like you could in Season 1 and 2, instead of having to play through the entire episode again. So taking away the ability to go back and actually pick through the episode where you want to start at was a big mistake in my opinion. To me, it just kind of killed the whole replay value. Number 2, A New Frontier. Just the whole game. I'm sorry, but this whole game was one big mistake in my opinion. I'm not saying that the game was altogether bad, but as a whole, the game kind of just wasn't it. And let's face it, in the final season, even though A New Frontier came right before the final season, they barely mention A New Frontier in the final season. They have a few references that you can skip through most of them, and also those references don't really mean much to the final season. The final season is more of a sequel to Season 1 than anything else. And that is probably because Season 1 was the most enjoyable season. I think A New Frontier, what it was trying to do, how it was trying to kind of erase a lot of what happened in previous seasons, because they didn't directly follow Season 2 because of all the different choices you had at the end of Season 2. So they were like, okay, we're just going to leave Season 2 in flashbacks. And they basically tried to start anew almost. You had Javier, you had Clementine be a side character. So they seemingly were trying to go a new route with A New Frontier. And it just didn't work in my opinion. So I think it would have been better if they had actually continued somewhat of Season 2. I understand they couldn't really, because they had so much endings in Season 2. It would have been almost impossible for them to completely follow Season 2, because they would have had to write so many different versions of A New Frontier for that. But at the same time, A New Frontier just didn't work for me. Sorry. And the number one mistake I believe this whole entire series made was killing Lee. Yes, I know this is an old one because this goes all the way back to season 1, episode 5, but I really think killing Lee in season 1 was a mistake. I understand that made season 1 ending so great, but it kind of screwed them, in my opinion, for the rest of the seasons, because in reality, Lee was such a great main character that no matter who you put in that role, they just wouldn't mount up to Lee. A semi-adult Clementine was the closest you got in the final season. So, in my opinion, they really should have just kept Lee. I'm not saying he shouldn't have died at all, but maybe died in season 3. Maybe. Then the final season would have made absolute sense, in my opinion, having like kind of Clem now fully taking over the reins as she takes care of AJ. It makes more sense, in my opinion. So, I understand that killing Lee really made season 1 kind of great, but it kind of screwed the other seasons, in my opinion. I really think they should have kept Lee alive. He should have maybe season 2 would have been him looking for Clementine, looking for Kristen, them, maybe bumping into Kenny and stuff like that. Maybe it would have been more interesting. Maybe, and I think it would have definitely made our choices from season 1 matter more. When we had season 2 with Clementine, it just made a lot of season 1 choices not matter much because Clementine didn't make those choices in season 1, so they didn't really matter for her. And that's my list. What do you guys think? What do you think the biggest mistakes that they made along the way? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. May God bless you all.